Hello, my name is Ilyan Kochev and this is 307 Sam Managing Sport Organizations, and in today's video we're discussing how key theory in management of sport organizations. We'll look how the Premier League is managed and controlled, how it is structured, and as well as measuring the performance of the organization. We'll look at what factors may affect the organization, as well as the culture of the organization. At the end of the video, we'll provide suitable recommendations and we'll be giving some improvements of the organization structure and performance. History of the Premier League. It was formed in 1992 and today's football season is the 27th of the Premier League after its formation. After a discussion with football authorities, players and television broadcasters, the first division clubs resigned from the Football League in May 1992 and the Premier League was formed with a campaign that consists with 20 club members and starting on August 15, same that year. The Premier League is formed with England's top-tier pyramid with 20 teams, and they're battling out the honour of that to be crowned English champions. The Premier League is home to some of the most famous clubs, players, managers, and stadiums in the world of football, and it is watched by 1 billion homes in 188 countries all over the world. When talking about managing control in Premier League, Parsons said that principle of managing sport organization is a mechanism of which is highly differentiated in society. It is possible to get things done to reach goals beyond reach of individuals. Premier League uses organizational theory as a macro approach as it delegates how to be effective and efficient to achieve organizational goals. For effective management and understanding of the Premier League, we can look at three main components: sport organization, structure, and culture, individuals and groups, managers and employers, and in the sport context where we can look at different sectors, sport-specific societies, and stuff like that. Slacking Parent said that sport organization is a social entity involved in sport industry that is goal-directed with a consciously structured activity and system and with identifiable boundaries. When we talk about control, we can think of someone who's giving us orders and entitled us to do, and we have to do them because they have more power than us. As the Premier League is a joint enterprise consisting of different independent entities, it implies control all over the clubs in it. Hopwood categorizes control in three components: administrative, social, and self. Premier League is acting as authority for every club, and it's implying its own rules and procedures, policies, sanctions, and regulations, and all the clubs are entitled to follow these procedures in order for control to be effective. For example, Premier League's format is simple as that. The league takes place between August and May, with clubs playing across season in a total of 380 matches. 3 points is for a win, 1 point is for a draw, and none for defeat. And this is how Premier League is formed, and the club with most points wins the Premier League and crowns him champion. The bottom of the league table are being relegated to lower leagues. When we talk about organizational structure, we can think of how things made possible of the application of measurement process. This is ultimately how the organization functions in terms of information flow, decision making, and power distribution. It is framework of how the activities of organization are planned, organized, directed, and controlled. According to Slacking Parent, three key tenets of organizational structure are interrelated: complexity, where we can see the layers of organization, how the activities are differentiated; formalization, which implies rules and procedures; and centralization, where the decision making is happening. Premier League has a high formalization structure, as lots of rules and regulations are implied towards the 20 club members. Speaking of centralization, where the decisions are made in the Premier League has decentralized decision making as the organization is more complex and not only the league decides how and what to be implemented in the rules and procedures. Every club is independent and exists within the rules of the football as defined by the Premier League or the FA, UEFA and FIFA, as well as being subject to the English and European law. Every other 20 clubs is a shareholder in the Premier League, and a consultation meetings are held for decision makings of policies. Meetings are held at regular intervals during the seasons, and we can find new rules or amendments and at those meetings, and every new rule or any other changes needs at least 2/3 vote or 14 clubs to be agreed. The Premier League handbook serves as a contract between one another and defining the structure of the competition. When we talk about organizational change, we're looking at how the organizations change and how are they affected by these changes. The Premier League is really vulnerable at these preceding times of virus outbreak, especially these days. We know that change is a constant, and what is more likely to change during these times is the Premier League as a sport business and organization. Organizations change over time so they can keep up with global economic and domestic changes. Type of strategic change that can explain this change is reconstruction, which organizations deal with rapid changes that could be of major structural change and major cost-cutting programs. For example, the Premier League is already staggering 9 million a week losses because of the coronavirus crisis. Some league giants have been looking at potential cuts and deferrals for their players as they're unable to pay their salaries, says Cross from Mirror UK. When we talk about performance in organizations, is an important part of organizations, and we can measure the overall performance of the organizations. We can ensure that an organization achieves its goals, and the system enables specific analysis to connect achievements in employee performance for the strategic directions of their organization. An example of this measure of performance is performance prism. Depending on what capabilities, strategies and processes the Premier League is executing, we can measure the organizational performance. In order to manage this contextual factor to achieve the best performance of this situation with the coronavirus outbreak, Premier League needs to be closed down, as Belgian manager Roberto Martinez said it is best for them. Roberto said that the best option and that impact on Premier League due to the outbreak is to let teams that need to be relegated in the league and to let Liverpool to have the title as the end of the season. When we talk about culture in organizations, so we can say that Premier League has had more than 20 years now of culture, and it's about stories and myths and symbols and all the rituals in one organization. A characteristic of culture are the members of the sport organization, and the importance of this cannot be created overnight. Premier League's culture has been the same ever since the league was created back in 1992. Since then, the founders have been establishing and maintaining the culture of the organization and what they're paying attention to as well. And here are some final recommendations for the Premier League. Needs to seize back control from players and agents. Former chairman of Crystal Palace believes that players running the Premier League. He also says that if the Premier League clubs does not see a clear vision in all this situation, and all the finances would disappear, and that would bring any change, and they deserve what they will get in the aftermath. In addition, he came up with a 5-point proposal to the industry, and we can see that the salary caps needs to be at 50%, which saves 625 million a year for the Premier League. A change to the transfer market, and the transfer window should be abolished. Agents should act as only for one party, either clubs or players, and PFA to be stripped of the 27 million gift from the Premier League after divisive and destructive behavior in this crisis. On the next slide, I can show you my reference list, and I will be including this in a Vodcast submission form as well. So that's it. Thank you.